share, like, comment, and subscribe.
You've probably heard the word tariff thrown around a lot in the news, especially when countries are talking about trade. But what is a tariff, really? How does this one little economic tool end up affecting everything from huge political deals to, say, the price of your next phone? Well, let's break it down.
See, at the heart of this entire debate is one really important question. When a government decides to tax stuff coming into the country, who actually ends up footing the bill? The answer, it turns out, is not as straightforward as you might think. And that's exactly what we're going to figure out.
Okay, so let's start at square one. To get how tariffs work, we first have to know what they are. And it all begins right at a country's border. That's pretty much it. A tariff is, simply put, a tax. It's one of the oldest tools in the economic playbook. A country just charges a fee on products as they cross the border, coming in from somewhere else.
So let's follow the journey of a product, shall we? It's made somewhere else in the world, it gets shipped and arrives at a port. Now right there, before it can officially enter the country and be sold, the company that's importing it has to pay that tariff tax to the government. Only after they pay up can it continue on to a warehouse or a store.
And this is the first crucial effect. A tariff immediately makes that product more expensive for the company bringing it in. So before it's even hit a store shelf, the item already costs more.
Now, this raises a pretty big question, right? If tariffs just make things more expensive, why on earth would a government use them? Well, it turns out there's a whole lot of strategy behind it.
You know, governments have a bunch of reasons for using tariffs. A big one is to protect their own local industries. By making foreign goods pricier, they hope you'll buy stuff made at home. But they can also be used like a weapon in a trade fight, or to hit back at another country's policies. Of course, they also raise money for the government, and they can be used as a bargaining chip in negotiations.
And this really gets to a key point. Sometimes a tariff isn't purely about the money. It's about sending a message. It's political signaling, a way for a country to flex its muscles and show other nations that it means business. It becomes a tool of power.
Okay, so the importer pays the tax at the border. Got it. But that cost? It doesn't just stop there. Nope. It starts a chain reaction, kind of like a ripple spreading across a pond, moving through the whole economy. Let me show you how this works.
Let's make this real. Imagine a smartphone. The company importing it pays a base price of, say, $500. Normally, they just add their own markup from there and sell it. But now, bam, the government slaps a 25% tariff on all imported smartphones. That is a huge tax that gets added the second that phone lands in the country.
So, just like that, the importer's cost for that same phone jumps from $500 to $625. That's an extra $125 they have to fork over. Now, a business can't just absorb a 25% hit to their costs like that.
So that extra cost starts to get passed along. The importer charges the wholesaler more, the wholesaler charges the retail store more, and guess who the retail store charges? Yep, you. That tax at the border has now rippled all the way down and inflated the price you see on the shelf.
So because of this ripple effect, tariffs obviously don't impact everyone the same way. By their very design, they create a clear set of economic winners and losers.
So on one side, you have the potential winners. A local company that makes smartphones might love this because their foreign competition just got more expensive. And, of course, the government is happy, collecting all that tax revenue. But on the flip side, what about a business that uses imported computer chips to make its products? Well, now their costs just went up. And us, the consumers, we're usually facing higher prices and maybe even fewer choices.
Which brings us right back to that big question we started with. We've seen the process, we've seen the strategy, we've seen the ripple effect. So now we can finally answer it.
So after all that, when a government puts a tax on imported goods, who really pays for it?
The answer is pretty much everyone shares the cost. It's not just one group. The importer might eat a little bit of it, businesses down the line might absorb some, but a big chunk of that cost often makes its final stop with you, the consumer.
And what's more, if tariffs are put on lots of different products all at once, it doesn't just make one thing more expensive. It can actually help fuel overall inflation, which just means it pushes up the cost of living for everybody.
So it's pretty clear that what starts out as a simple tax at the border becomes something way, way more complicated once it's out in the real world.
At the end of the day, it's all about a fundamental trade-off. On one hand, yeah, tariffs can protect certain jobs or give a country some political leverage. But on the other hand, that protection almost always comes with a price tag, higher costs for businesses and for the people living in the very country that put up the tariff.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? The idea of a tariff is super simple, but the real-world consequences, oh, they are deeply complicated, creating winners, losers, and effects that can last for years. Which leaves us with a final big question to think about. When a country decides to use tariffs, is it putting up a necessary shield to protect its economy, or is it just creating a self-inflicted wound? As we've seen, the answer really depends on who you ask.
Share, like, comment, and subscribe.